you make an interesting point that people these days are consuming their news in ways that they couldn't a long time ago. The internet is obviously a big one. As you mentioned, social networks like Twitter, Facebook, those kinds of things. YouTube, we can jump online and catch clips from the news published by the networks on YouTube and that sort of thing. Do you think that, apart from the fact-checking issues that come through that, do you think that is going to radically change, not immediately, but over the next, let's say, 10 years as the demographic shifts for news? Do you think that's going to radically change how you deliver the news from behind a desk?
I think we'll be conscious of it. I don't know if it'll radically change things. I think it means that we're obviously, I think, in the mainstream media held a lot more to account than a lot of the things that you see on your social networks and some of the websites. Because you have to be right. So accountability is always going to be there.
Accountability brings you credibility.
Correct, yeah. So whilst the social websites are all part of the media landscape, they're not the be-all and end-all. So I don't think they're going to sort of cause a drastic change in the way things are covered, but I think we'll just have to be, it'll have to be constantly updated and upgraded, and so there'll be more pressure, if you like, or more demand for more news. So I guess that's getting part of the way that TEN's strategy of actually increasing news coverage, because you have to be able to update. Between 5 o'clock and 6 o'clock and 6 to 6:30, things evolve and change, and people express opinions or new agendas come in on these websites or on stories. So you have to be able to then respond to them. So it means constantly checking and rechecking and reformatting and redoing stories to meet that appetite that people have. So I guess it may mean a little bit more work, a bit more often.
Just as well, you don't have to write or fact check any of that stuff. You just get to stand up and read it, hey?
Yeah, right. Look, the producers do a great job, but we're all in there doing it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, given the changes, there's some new news programming, a fairly significant change that's come through this year. We've still got the 5 to 6 o'clock first at 5 news for 10. Then there's now the new 6 p.m. with George Negus and that crew. And then a state-anchored national bulletin with a local focus. And you're leading the Queensland 10 evening news. 3 weeks in, how comfortable are you?
Very comfortable. Very happy with it. It's gone really well. It's come at a busy time. The whole launch just happens to have coincided with 2 of the worst disasters the state's seen. But it's gone really well. Our news set actually even got flooded in the Brisbane floods. The new news set we had, so we had to get a new one of those built. But that's nothing compared to the damage and the loss a lot of people have had, and of course the loss of lives in the Lockyer Valley. But it's going really well. Everybody's happy with it. Everyone's working as hard as they can, and we know it'll take time for people to get their eyes on it and have a look at it. We think it's a good product. We're very confident that it's what the audience wants to see, and we think it's a bit of the future.
Yeah, local content is king, no question, and I think the very direct, or I assume it's a direct, correct me if I'm wrong, the very direct approach by 10 Evening News in making the stories and the bulletin really be about how these news stories affect us in Queensland is key to some of that.
Oh, it's very targeted, and that's definitely the approach. The approach is to have an alternative, of course, first of all, for current affairs on the other two at 6:30. So it's to have a local news, and it's to have a service for people that are getting home a bit later at night, so they can, if they don't get home, and see the 5 o'clock news, because a lot of our audience say, we love what you do, 5 to 6 o'clock, really good hour of news, we get everything, but we can't always get home. We're getting home from work some days late, we're picking up the kids. We love it, so it's transferring that to a time when they're home, they can maybe sit down, put the kids down, have a bit of dinner, and they can actually sit and watch it. And as you said, it's providing that local window, and so the focus is completely local in that one. Obviously when there's a big national story, it'll be in there as well, but it's to have a local window that's an alternative to current affairs. So if people want to see news and they don't want to see current affairs, we're now providing it. If they want to see local, we've got that one covered as well. And look,
it's a big ask. It's a tough challenge. Implementing 10 Evening News at 6:30 puts it up against 2 of, they're easily in the top 10 as far as highest rating I'll use the word current affairs loosely. Current
yeah.
affairs programs in the country consistently. They're always up there. Everyone wants to know about boobs, bums, and burkas.
Yep. Diet fads,
news,
you know, the bras that make your boobs look good without a job, you know, all that sort of stuff.
And 10 Evening News is not that.
It's not that. There's a market for that. If people want to see that, well, they know the market's there because they've been doing those stories over and over again for many, many years. So there's no, I'm not going to criticise them. There is a market there, but we're an alternative. We're a credible alternative, and we're a local alternative.
It's no small investment by 10 either. I mean, the reports are that there was 100, I think, extra staff brought on by the network to help produce and deliver, and I believe that's not just in the behind-the-scenes stuff. That's also new journalists, like new reporters and stuff. So you're getting to work with some of the new up-and-comers. Oh,
it's a big injection of funds and staff as well. You're right, 100 staff. In Brisbane, we've got 10 editorial, we've got 10 technical staff that come on. So 20 staff into a newsroom sort of overnight. It's a big injection, and so it is a big, you know, you could use a sport term, it's a balls out move to do it because it is against established opposition. But look, as I said, it's working really great so far. We've got such a good mix of people that have come in to what was already a really good team. Hard work. We always work hard. I always like to think that we always work really hard. We haven't always had the resources in 10 years, and I'll be honest, to cover the news is probably the way we'd like it. Now that's changed. We have got the resources, the network's behind it. So we've got more weapons in the arsenal, if you like, and I think it's going really good.
That's good. Now, 6 o'clock traditional news time. And, we've got the other evening bulletins, and we've got now 6 p.m. with George Negus offering that public affairs approach. We then flip to 6:30, and I think if we think back, old school, 6:30 was just as important to the networks as 6 p.m. was. You know, it used to be serious current affairs. And now that it's a lot more, I'll call it light or entertainment-y current affairs versus what 10 is on. Do you think that it's just that the other networks, this might sound a bit harsh, the other networks aren't taking it as seriously as 10, or they know their markets and that's what they want to deliver to, and you guys, in your point of difference, are just saying, no, we want to take this angle and to hell with you.
This is for the 6:30?
Yes.
Yeah, well, we think that that's what our viewers want to see. We think that they want an alternative. We think they want something that's local, and we don't. I mean, there's obviously, as I said, an audience there for what the others are doing, but we think there's a big audience out there that wants something different.
Yes.
And so, I guess that is the approach, that we think this is the right way to go, and so we're going to do it. It'll take a while. It'll take a while till eyes sort of get on the program, have a look at it, suss it out. It's not going to happen overnight. The network knows that. We all know that. But we're prepared to hang it out and keep going and keep evolving the show, getting better at it, and that's happened over the last 3 weeks even since we've started. We feel like we've improved it and getting a few of the bugs out. So it will only get better, and all we can do is just stick to that philosophy. The network's behind it. We'll just keep working as hard as we can and put out the best product we can, and hopefully the viewing audience will see that and tune in and have a look.
How do you respond to critics that offer that an extra hour of news is watering down rather than building up 10's news brand?
Well, they're all different programs, so we don't see it as just an extra hour of news, and we don't see it as watering down anything at all. We see George obviously as a standalone in the middle of all that. It's completely different. We'd like to think that's for people that want a bit more credibility and a bit more serious current affairs. We'd like to think that's the alternative at 6 o'clock. The hour of news from 5 to 6 has been a staple for a long time.
Yes.
I think that's well established at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
And then we see 6 as a different program again, and we're not expecting everyone that watches 5 o'clock is going to be tuning in all the way through till when the 7 p.m. project kicks off. So, as I said, we're there for different sets of eyes to come in over that time frame. So, and the 6:30 show is a local focus show, whereas the 5 to 6 is more of a national, international, as well as local. So we see them as all different, appealing to different genres, I guess, different demographics and different stages of people coming home.